Hey guys, what the heck is going on? Sam here, coming at y'all today with another 2002 format deck profile. You guys have shown a pretty big liking to this format on the channel so far, and I'm really stoked. I'm really glad that so many people are getting into this format, and I really do appreciate all the comments and the feedback and stuff, and you guys letting me know every time that I upload an O2 deck profile or a live duel that you guys want to see more of it. So let me know down below if you guys want to keep seeing this stuff, and I will keep cranking it out for y'all. We are right now in the middle of the first ever May 2002 Cup, and it is extremely fun. It is a tournament that we've got going on. It's a cash prize, and it's being put on through the 2002 Duelists Facebook group. If you guys want to be part of that Facebook group, or if you want more info on how to sign up for the next O2 Cup, the link is going to be down below in the description. You can become part of the Facebook group, and there's a lot of people on there talking about different decks and card choices and techs, and just a lot of discussions about this format in general. So if you guys are wanting to get more involved in this format, or you are involved and you want to connect with more people that are playing this, then check out that group below, and it's a really cool group. So today I want to show you guys the deck that I have been playing for about the last 12 months or so, and this is a very fun deck. It is called Back Row Control. And it is a deck that is kind of based around not only skill but memorization, and it allows you to really kind of control what your opponent is doing for a lot of different reasons. Now, one of these reasons is you are able to know almost at all times what your opponent has set with a lot of their cards, like throughout the whole entire game, and it's even better like the later on that the duel goes. And you're able to do that with cards like Trapmaster and with cards like Armed Ninja and that kind of stuff. It's just really fun, and it really allows you to just get a one-up on your opponent if you can play this strategy right, and it can really throw your opponent for a loop. But all in all, it's super fun, and it's just like a tad bit trolly. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this. Let me know what you guys think down below in the description, and we are going to hop into this. So now, this deck plays a lot of cards that your opponent won't see, and even in this format, and even if they do, they probably don't see it in this abundance. But Trapmaster is not one of them, but there are a lot of different other cool techs in this deck. Trapmaster is a card that a lot of decks do play at 1, 2, or 3. Most decks will play this card. Trapmaster is great. It's one of the only cards in the whole entire format that allows you to destroy cards in your opponent's back row. It is the only card that actually will snipe out traps, except for Remove Trap, but that's a whole nother video, a whole nother discussion. But now, whenever this card is flipped, you can try to snipe out something of your opponent's, and it can be potentially a -1, it can be a 1-for-1, and it can be a +1 depending on how you utilize it. Now, Armed Ninja does the exact same thing, except for it's with spells. Now, these two go hand in hand, because if you end up guessing wrong the first time and it's a spell, then you know exactly what to hit with Armed Ninja, and vice versa. If you guess a trap and with Armed Ninja, then you'll be able to get it with Trapmaster. Now, these cards are great because you're able to out things in your opponent's back row that are very needed on their end to win the game. Things like Trap Hole, things like Reinforcements and Wabakoo, things like Fissure, Swords of Revealing Light, Dark Hole, Raigeki, things like that. You won't ever hit a Pot of Greed. They'll probably just activate that right when they get it. I know I would. So, but it's a really fun concept. And on top of all that, we play things like Dispel. Dispel is great. It kind of goes on with the same concept with these, except for it's not a monster, so you don't have to set it. You can just go ahead and activate it. It's a really cool card in that aspect. And these cards alone just let you know what your opponent has set like all the time, and you're just able to kind of like control the game in that aspect, because you know what you need to hit whenever you get the next card of a certain type. It really just kind of depends on if it's a spell or a trap, or it just depends on the knowledge that you have of what your opponent has in their back row. And one card that we play as a fun tech in this deck is the Stern Mystic. Now, the Stern Mystic has a flip effect that flips all face down cards on the field face up, and the flip effects do not activate, so you can take advantage of your opponent's flip effects and make them kind of just burn them in that sense. And you get to see all the cards in the back row. I only play this card at 1 for a few different reasons. You want to kind of use it right at the right time. You have to wait till your opponent has a pretty full back row, so anywhere between like 3 and 5 cards. You want to wait until you don't have another flip effect on the field, but you also want to wait till your opponent has a monster on the field, and you just hope that it's a flip effect. And then if it's not, it can just be a monster that needs to be flipped up anyway, and then you can activate things like Fissure and try to utilize Fissure that way. So it's just a really fun one of in the deck. It can be Trap Hold. It's 15. 15 is like really weird in this format because it's big enough to run over the small monsters, like Wall of Illusion or any of these flip effects or Maneater Bug or, Giant Soldier of Stone, but it's not big enough to really compete with things like Lajin or, Battle Ox or Neo. So it's kind of weird. It's really, I feel like, just good as a 1-of in this deck, but it really just gives you knowledge of what your opponent has. So yeah, this is all really, really fun. It's a different play style as far as this format goes. Now, as the game goes on, really in late game 1 or in games 2 or 3, or maybe even game 1, if this deck does gain traction as time goes on and more people start playing this format, and they do choose to play this as a rogue choice, if they know what you're playing or how this playstyle will go, they won't want to set any other cards. So we do play cards like Card Destruction. Card Destruction is a fun 2-of because your opponent will want to keep stuff in their hand to protect it from being destroyed by all the cards that you're playing to destroy their back row. Now, Card Destruction is really fun whenever you see your opponent discard things like Monster Reborn, Lajin, Swords of Revealing Light, Trap Hole, because they don't want to set those things. I've seen so many people just discard their hand and they're just like, oh my gosh, I didn't want to set those, but at the same time, you're hitting them from every area pretty much. Now, it's really fun that way, just being able to really just kind of snipe out, really good cards that that your opponent has. Whenever you see your opponent have, 4 to 6 cards in hand and that they know what you're, when you know that they are kind of catching on to what you're doing, that's a fun time when you want to activate these. Now, we're playing also 3 copies of the card Wall of Illusion. And we play this card for a few different reasons. One, because I've talked about it, in a few different other videos, but the fact that you're able to clear your monster's board presence because their monster gets returned back up to their hand. And also because 1850 is a big amount of defense. Your opponent has to use a card like Reinforcements or Fissure, Dark Hole, Raigeki, or that kind of stuff to really get over it. So Wall of Illusion is an amazing card, but not to mention, again, your opponent, you will know what they have in their hand because of Wall of Illusion. It will return it back up to their hand. So that just kind of plays along with the whole card destruction, technique in this game, and it's a really, really fun strategy to just play on your opponent. Now, Wall of Illusion, I also play 3 copies of this card because we don't play a lot of huge beaters in this deck. So you want your opponent to try to activate Monster Reborn on this. And you want it to be on their side of the field. Or hopefully, if they are playing Wall of Illusion, then you can abuse Wall of Illusion very badly in this deck. Now let me explain why. So if your opponent has something like Wall of Illusion face up on the field, and you have something like Armed Ninja or Trap Master, you can activate Armed Ninja or Trap Master. You'll flip it, and then you'll try to hit their back row, and then if you guess right, cool. If you guess wrong, then now you know what they have. But the coolest thing is you can eat some damage. Life points is a resource, but you can eat some damage, run into the Wall of Illusion, and then the Trap Master will get returned back up to your hand. Same thing goes for Armed Ninja, and to be completely honest, if you're playing just a standard deck and your opponent's playing Wall of Illusion, use that exact same technique with a Maneater Bug. But what's really cool about this deck is you can eat damage, but at the same time, you can really just out a crap ton of cards in your opponent's back row. Now, the perfect game set scenario, which actually doesn't happen, as not often as you think. It actually happens a lot if your opponent's playing things like Wall of Illusion. You can get a loop going on with every turn you'll flip either Armed Ninja or Trap Master, and then you'll flip one the same turn that you set the other one. Now what you'll do is you'll run Armed Ninja into Wall of Illusion, and then this will return back up to your hand, and then at that same turn you will set the Trap Master. And then what will happen is the next turn you'll run into you'll flip and you'll try to destroy your opponent's back row, and then you will run Wall of Illusion into it. And if it was a spell, then you can just set the Armed Ninja next turn, and now you know what they have in their back row. Now there are games where I've taken up to about $6,000 doing damage to myself by running these into my opponent's Wall of Illusion, but at the same time, my opponent ended up losing that because they lost somewhere between like 2, 3, or 4, or even 5 cards out of their back row because you're able to just like snipe out their whole back row with these combos. It's really cool. If your opponent does have a Wall of Illusion on the field, do not destroy it. Just find a ways to utilize it until you really just get down in the red zone, which is below 2,000 life points, and then just try to continue on with the game state. And at that point, you will have out-resourced your opponent, and you will have more cards than them. So that's just a really fun tech. Like I said, Maneater Bug, try to do the same thing. If you're just playing in O2 format in general, but you're not playing the other ones. This is a flip effect, so you can keep abusing it. Things like Hane and, you know, Man-Eater Bug and stuff. It's just really fun. So with this deck, we play 3 copies of Man-Eater Bug. Man-Eater Bug is amazing. I would recommend playing 3 copies of this card in almost every single 2002 deck that you play. It's just that great of a card. This card alone can destroy Blue Eyes White Dragon. Let that sink in. So we play the Power 5, which is Dark Hole, Raigeki, Chains of Heart, Monster Reborn, and Pot of Greed. Every deck pretty much plays all 5 of these. So yeah, it's kind of no-brainer. Then we play 2 copies of Swords Revealing Light, because sometimes in this deck you need to stall because you play a lot of little monsters. You don't play as many beaters as other decks do, but Swords Revealing Light is a great card anyway. I actually play this deck and just in my beatdown deck because you need it sometimes. You go neg 1 in the long run, but the 3 cards that you get off of this will be definitely worth the card that you use just to stall. So if all that makes sense, then we're going to carry on. So next we play 3 copies of Fissure. Fissure's great in this deck. Not only are you able to out your opponent's monsters, but you have a lot of little pokers in this deck. So you want to make sure that you try to pave the way for them to put in the damage. You know, things like your flip effects and Wall of Illusion and that kind of stuff. So 3 Fissure's great, kind of staple in almost every single 2002 deck. In this deck, we play 3 Trap Hole and 3 Waboku. We actually don't play reinforcements in this deck because of the fact that there's such a huge attack difference between a lot of the monsters you play and a lot of the monsters that Standard Beatdown will play. With Standard Beatdown, at the moment, is probably the majority of what you will play. And they play a lot of Battleox, Neo, Lojin, that kind of stuff. And the reinforcements just really isn't worth it. But Trap Hole is really, really great. Obviously, in this format, Waboku's really great. You can combo Waboku with things like, you know, Wall of Illusion, or if, you know, you want to make sure that your Trap Masters and your Armed Ninjas don't get destroyed because you want to utilize them and abuse them how I was talking about earlier, then you can save them with Waboku. So yeah, that's all the traps that we play in the whole entire deck. And last but not least, we play some beaters. Now, in this deck, more than any other deck that I've played in O2, these get summoned successfully more often in this because you're able to just snipe out your opponent's trap holes. Your opponent's only able to activate probably half of their trap holes in these matchups with this deck. It's just really, really fun. You try to obviously bait them out with the Battleox. I only summon Lojin when I'm really just trying to get in damage where I really need to, or when I'm about to activate Card Destruction because I don't want him to, you know, get destroyed, or when I really feel like my opponent doesn't have any trap holes set in their back row. And you will know because you know what your opponent's playing in their back row. So this can be Neo. Obviously, I just like Battleox personally a little bit better, but 6 beaters is really what you want to play in this deck because the whole rest of your deck is so strategy and combo based and whatnot. You want to make sure that you're kind of poking with them and then really just getting in the damage with these guys where you can. But like I said, you will know when in the safe time is to summon things like Lojin. If you don't, then you know, try to bait it out with things like Battleox. So anyway, guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. It's a very fun deck profile. It's a very fun deck. I hope that you pick up this deck and really just try to have fun playing it. Let me know what you think about it down below in the comments, and you guys feel free to go join the 2002 Duelists Facebook group. It's really, really fun. We're going to be doing a second May 2002 Cup as soon as this one is over, and I really look forward to meeting you guys on Facebook, and I really look forward to hearing you guys' comments too as well. So till next time, we will see y'all later.